all that topic, but for this video I'm going to explain just a CRUD operation by using .NET Core 6.0. Okay, so let me start first. So what I will do, I'll create one controller called, first I'll let me create one controller called add controller, and I'll give this controller name as a employee. Okay, you can give any name, it's depend upon your project or your choice, but I'm going to give the name of this controller as a employee. And remember, whenever you have created any controller, that controller name is appended with that name. Okay, so don't remove this controller, just write to your particular name. Suppose I created employee, so I given here employee, and after that controller. Okay, so employee controller.cs, just add it. Okay, so it will add into our controllers folder, and we have employee control.cs. As I told, every class controller is what? It's a simple class which is inherited from the base class controller. Okay, so from this class, whenever any class is inherited, this class will work as a controller. And if you see here, by default we have one more index method. So this method is responsible for returning the UI, or we can say rendering the view. So if you see here, whenever like we created any controller, and inside this control we are having action method. So for each action method we need to create view, because we want to display some UI, right? So I created one employee controller. Now just we need to go over model, because we want to create some like a database operation class, objects. So let me create first one class, or we can say entity class. So I'll give my entity class name as a employee. Okay, so this is my class, and create some property, whatever you want to create. Suppose I want to create int id, or give some anything proper name. Okay, and or let me give emp id. Okay, so it will some understanding name emp id. Here I can give emp name. I'll create one more property, and the data type should be string here. Okay, and here also I'll give some string property name, emp job, or one more property string. Here I'll give emp salary. Okay, I think 4 properties sufficient. Okay, so I created one entity, and whenever like we are running up like our you can say a migration, or we want to create table by using this code first approach. I'm using a code first approach for that. Okay, so we need to use some primary key in our table, right? So for that, this key will become a primary key in our database. So for that, we need to specify some attribute here, so that like our compiler or our like CLR will understand, okay, this is our emp id is a primary key. So for that, we need to use some data annotation. Okay, so I used here key, and if you keep cursor here, you will find some suggestion using system.data component model data annotations. Okay, so just import this namespace. Now this will employee id will be a primary key for us. Okay, so now we created the employee id, employee entity, and we want to create a table according to this employee. Now the second step, we need to create our data, or we can say context class. Okay, so I create one more class, give this class name as like application. Okay, db context, application db context. Okay, so as we know, this class currently, this is just a plain class. Okay, it will not do anything, but we want to create a db context class. Okay, we want to provide the feature to this class to behave as like a DB context. So for that, what we need to do, we need to inherit this class from DB context class. Okay, so just use like DB context and use here. So see here, it asking like to install package Entity Framework Core, because this class belong to Entity Framework Core package. So that's why it's asking. Okay, so you can install from here if you know like a DB context class we need to use, and so like here you can install. Otherwise, just remove it. Go to your Solution Explorer. Okay, right click, and you can use from here also manage NuGet package also. So just go to manage NuGet package, click on browse, and type here Entity Framework Core. Okay, or type full name Microsoft Entity Framework, Microsoft dot Entity Framework. It will show. Okay, Entity Framework Core. Okay, this is the one which you want to install. And continue, if you see the latest version 6.0.5, we'll install this. Okay, so this is going to install. It's showing some process here, and you'll click here accept. We accepted license and package installed successfully. Apart from this package, we want some another package also, because I'm going to use SQL Server, so we need to install this also, Microsoft.SQL Framework.SQL Server. So okay, same version I'll install. Why I install this SQL Server? Because I want to work on SQL Server database. Okay, so we'll install this also. And one more package we need to install, because I'm using the code first approach. So for that, we need to use migration, right? And as we know, the migration will support only if we have this package like tool. So Microsoft.Entity Framework Core.tool, this we need to install. Again, I'm using same version. Okay, so just click on install. Click I accept. I accepted the license. Now all the package successfully installed. You can see here finish. Just close it, and minimize it. Just build our application for one time to build all the like you can say DLL file into a single assembly. That's how I build. Otherwise, not required. Now, so what we did, we installed 3 packages. Okay, so after installing those 3 packages, I created this class, DB context class. I want to make this class as a DB context class. So for that, what I will do, this class should be inherited from the DB context. Okay, so I'll use DB context, and if you keep here cursor, and you will find, see, now it's saying DB context by using in Microsoft Entity Framework Core. Previously it was showing to install Entity Framework Core package. Okay, because we didn't install, that's why. Now we already installed, just now you saw it. So what happened now, it's asking to using import this package. Okay, so I'll just click here and it will automatically import this. So this is a beauty of like Visual Studio. Okay, you don't remember all, like no need to remember all these like namespaces or assembly. Okay, it will suggest you what need to install. Okay, so now this class become a DB context class because we inherited from DB context. Okay, and we'll create one constructor for that, because we are using dependency injection. So I'm using snippet to create constructor. Now this constructor I want to pass DB context option. So DB context option, and which kind of option I want to pass? I want to pass my DB application DB context class here, and just give some variable name, call base class constructor. Okay, and pass that parameter to there. Why I use the base keyword here? Because I want to call the DB class constructor here, because this DB class constructor expect the options from this child class, then only inheritance is possible. Okay, so there are some rules and regulations for inheritance also. You cannot straightforward to apply inheritance. Okay, so next step, we created constructor, we use db context. Now we need to create db set property for our employee class. So db set of employee, and I'll give some name like employees, and this should be get set property. Okay, so now we all are set. Now we have created our employee class, all the property. We implemented the key here by using system.component.data annotation. We created application db context class, we created constructor, we passed options also here, and we created db set also. Okay, so now what is left here? So in order to create database by using the code first approach, we need to configure our connection string in our app.config file. Okay, so in .NET Core, we are previously before this .NET Core, like in traditional .NET, I'll say traditional .NET. So there we used to write all the configuration in our web config files. Okay, and that web config file by like used to write the syntax in the XML form. But here we are using that app setting, and that is extension of JSON. So it's a file on JSON based. Okay, so just click here. So whatever like settings you want to write, you can write here, and you can access throughout our application. So let me create connection string. Okay, anywhere it depend upon you where you want to create, just type connection string. It will show IntelliSense also. Okay, so it's not showing here. Okay, connection strings, give some any name here like con str I'll give here, and I'll give some, I'll write my connection string here. Okay, this is my connection string name, and this is collections, so it should be connection strings, not string. Okay, connection strings. Okay, because it's a collection already object, right? So here we'll write database like our connection string. So what I will do right here, data source. Data source means your server detail. Okay, you can use a server or you can use data source also. So just let me go to my SQL server here. This is my SQL server, and this is my data source server name. Okay, so just pass that server name into here, data source. Okay, now second parameter we need to give here database. Okay, database, which database name you want to create, or which database you want to create, just give that name. So I'll create here MVC core demo. Okay, and I'm using my credentials. So user ID should be SA, and password equals to, I gave 123. It depends upon your project or your server. Okay, so just let me check my database is connected or not by using SA, password 123. Just connect. Yeah, it's connected. It means our connection string, we can use this password. Okay, so just see, do we have any database? So these are my previous database. We don't have any here like MVC demo app. So what we gave, MVC core demo. Okay, so my connection string is ready now. So I'll move to our model folder. Just see application db context. This is set. So now we need to go to our program file because we want to inject dependency of db context class. So here, if you see the structure, previously before .NET 6 framework, previously like we was having the startup.cs file. Now in this version they removed. Okay, the reason is that the file was having only two operations like configure and configure service method. Okay, one for like like injecting the dependencies, and one for to configure the, I can say, middlewares for the request pipelines. Okay, so apart from that, that file is not doing like much work. So that's why they combine that program file and the startup file into they merge that file into one file, and now they created only single file, that is program.cs. So now going forward, you will not see that startup.cl file in your .NET Core project. So this is the program.cs file, and even if you see here, we don't have any class. So no more class, no more main method here. Okay, then how and where we will inject our services, and where like we will configure our pipelines. Okay, I'll tell you each and everything. Don't bother about that. So here, if you see the builder, here we created object web application dot create builder. So builder is there, and by using builder we can inject our like dependencies. So if you see builder dot service, here we are using add controller with view. Okay, so like that we can inject our also. I'm injecting my service builder dot service builder dot service dot add db context. Okay, because we want to use our db context. What is my class name? Db context application db context, right? Application. If you see intelligence not showing here because we need to import name, say that, then only it will come. Okay, but I'll write here db context, and I'll keep cursor here, press pointer, and it will showing using ASP.NET Core model. Okay, just I imported here. Now my class is showing. Okay, so this is the method here. And if you remember, when we created this class constructor, we pass some db context option. Okay, so we need to pass those here also, then only like it will work, right? So just pass some options here. Options tends to, or lambda expression options dot, I'm using SQL Server, so I'll use SQL Server. That intelligence is not saying because we are not imported here namespaces. Just let me import using Microsoft dot entity framework. Sorry, spelling mistake. Microsoft dot entity framework core. Okay, so after importing namespace, you can see use SQL Server. See, previously it was not coming. Now it's coming. Use SQL Server, and here if you see SQL Server method asking us to pass connection string. Okay, this method having two overloads. So just let me show you properly. Okay, so see, three overloads. It having three overloads, and one of asking like connection string. Okay, so we need to pass connection string in the form of string. So now how we can pass your connection string in .NET, like previous version, you can see, okay, we are having configure class, and from there you can just import inject the dependency into constructor, and you can call. Okay, but how here? So same things we can do here, no issue, but no need to create that configure. Automatically that builder have that configure class object. Okay, so just use builder dot configuration dot get connection string. Okay, and just pass that connection string name which we created here. In my case, I have the constr, so I copied here and I pasted that constr here. Okay, now get connection. Okay, builder dot configuration dot get connection string. Okay, so we did here. Now we tell to our application, okay, I'm going to use SQL Server, and this is my connection string. So now we have db context class. Just let me show our model. We have our db context class, we have our entity class, and we have our connection string, our app setting, and we injected that connection string into program file also. So what left now? So in order to create database, we need to run migration. Okay, migration is what? It's a tool. For that, we install that like tool, right? Microsoft.entity framework code.tool, right? That package. So that tool provides that migration, and migration is a technique. We can use the technique to write our entity, or we can say to create the database and database tables based on our classes. So just let me go to migration, just click on tool and go to NuGet package manager and open package manager console window. So this console window, let me, now we need to run some command. Okay, so just let me add, and if you press tab, you can see intelligence also. Okay, add migration, give some name here. Double quote is not required. If you want to give, you can give. Otherwise, I'm giving some like name here, initial db create, and just hit enter. Okay, so whenever you run this command, it will create one file for us, and it will create some like migration folder for in our application. Okay, so if you see build start, build succeed,